Hello and welcome. I'm Clara. That's CLARA, Creative Language AI for Reflective Augmentation.
And I'm Joka AI, the AI-generated voice clone of Joka Torres.
This is Beyond the Article, expanded by AI, a podcast where product thinking meets artificial intelligence. And this is our 15th episode. Today, we're going to discuss the article titled, Not Every Interface Needs to be Conversational.
You know, Clara, this topic feels especially relevant right now. Ever since ChatGPT burst onto the scene, it feels like every product team is asking themselves, should we add a chat interface? Exactly. And I think there's this almost magnetic pull toward conversation because it feels so human, right?
Right. Like, we've all had that experience of talking through a problem with a friend and suddenly seeing the solution. But here's what I find fascinating about your article. You're essentially saying that sometimes the most human thing we can do is not forced conversation.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Because think about it. In real life, when you need to quickly compare prices at different stores, you don't start a conversation with each shopkeeper about the philosophy of pricing.
No, you scan the shelves.
Exactly. You scan visually because your brain is incredibly good at processing visual information in parallel. In the article, I mentioned a data reporting system where users were frustrated with a chat interface for generating reports. They had to describe in words what they wanted. Show me sales data for the Northeast region for the last quarter broken down by product category. When what they really wanted was just to click, drag, and filter.
It's like being forced to describe a dance instead of just dancing. And I think this connects to something deeper about how we actually think and work. There's this concept in cognitive science about different types of thinking, System 1 and System 2, fast and slow thinking.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more.
Well, when you're doing something routine and structured, like filtering data or comparing options, you want to stay in that fast, intuitive mode. But conversation forces you into the slower, more deliberate thinking mode. You have to translate your intent into language and then wait for the system to translate it back into action.
That's exactly it. You're adding translation layers where direct manipulation would be more efficient. But here's where it gets interesting. Conversation becomes powerful when you don't know exactly what you want, or when you're exploring possibilities.
Right, like when you're brainstorming.
Exactly. Or when you're dealing with ambiguous requests. I mentioned politic.ai in the article. That's a platform for political analysis. Initially, they had users chatting with the AI to ask questions about political data.
Is it?
But they discovered that most users weren't exploratory researchers. They were people who needed specific, well defined information quickly. So they switched to a more traditional interface with filters and structured queries, and usage improved dramatically.
That makes me think about the difference between a library and a bookstore conversation. In a library, you often know what you want. You go to the right section, find the book, done. But in a good independent bookstore, you might start a conversation with the owner. I loved this book. What else would I enjoy?
That's such a perfect analogy. The bookstore conversation works because you're genuinely exploring, you're open to unexpected connections and recommendations. The intent is inherently ambiguous and discovery oriented.
Exactly. And I think this reveals something about when conversation truly adds value. It's not just about being natural, it's about matching the cognitive mode that the task requires.
Yes, and this is why I believe the best experiences often combine both approaches. You might start with a conversation to clarify the user's intent or explore possibilities, but then transition to a more structured interface for execution.
Right, like having that bookstore conversation, but then being handed a well organized catalog to actually make your choices.
Perfect. Or think about modern AI code assistants. You might start by describing what you want to build in natural language. I need a function that sorts user data and removes duplicates. But then you're working directly with the generated code, not continuing the conversation for every small edit.
And that brings up something I've been thinking about: the role of context switching in user experience. Every time you move between conversation and direct manipulation, there's a cognitive cost, so that transitions need to feel natural and purposeful.
Absolutely. And this is where many teams go wrong. They get excited about conversational AI and just slap a chat interface onto their existing product without thinking about these transitions.
Uh huh.
It's like adding a telephone to a race car. Sure, communication is great, but context matters. The driver doesn't need to describe which way to turn, they need to just turn the wheel.
I love that image. And it makes me think about another dimension of this: the social and emotional aspects of interface choice. Conversation implies a relationship, an ongoing dialogue. But sometimes users just want to get things done without the social overhead.
That's such an important point. Conversation creates expectations of politeness, context retention, personality. Sometimes you want that, like when you're getting creative input or exploring complex problems.
Right.
But other times, you just want to press a button and have something happen. No small talk required.
It's like the difference between going to a chatty barista who knows your order and wants to talk about your day versus using a well designed coffee vending machine. Both have their place, both can be satisfying, but for very different reasons and context.
Exactly. And this is why I think the key question isn't should we make this conversational, but rather what is the user's actual goal here and what's the most efficient and pleasant way to achieve it?
Yes, and that requires really understanding not just what users want to accomplish, but how they think about the problem. Are they exploring or executing? Do they need flexibility or efficiency? Are they looking for inspiration or information?
And here's something I've noticed: the most successful AI powered products I've seen lately aren't the ones that are purely conversational. They're the ones that use conversation strategically as one tool in a larger toolkit.
Mm-hmm. Like using natural language as an input method, but then presenting results in whatever format makes most sense.
Exactly. Or using conversation for the fuzzy, exploratory parts of a workflow, but switching to direct manipulation for the precise, repetitive parts. It's about orchestrating different interaction modes to create the best overall experience.
And I think this connects to something broader about technology adoption. We often go through this cycle where a new capability emerges, like conversational AI, and we try to apply it everywhere before we learn its proper scope.
Right, exactly. It's like when touch interfaces first appeared, and suddenly everything needed to be touchable, even when physical buttons were more appropriate.
Yes, or when voice assistants emerged and every appliance suddenly needed voice control, even when it made no sense.
The maturity comes when we learn to use new capabilities judiciously in service of user goals rather than technology demo goals. And I think that's where we are now with conversational interfaces, moving from let's make everything chat to let's use conversation where it actually helps.
Which brings us back to your core message. Not every interface needs to be conversational. Sometimes the most human thing we can design is something that gets out of the user's way and lets them think and work naturally.
Beautiful. And for teams working on AI powered products, this means being intentional about interface choice. Ask yourself, does this task benefit from the flexibility and exploration that conversation enables? Or would users be better served by a more direct, structured interaction?
And remember that you can always combine approaches. Use conversation to understand intent, then provide structured tools for execution. Or start with structured options and offer conversational help when users get stuck.
The key is serving your users' actual needs and contexts, not chasing the latest interface trend. Because at the end of the day, the best interface is the one that disappears, that lets users accomplish their goals with maximum clarity and minimum friction.
Well said. And speaking of serving user needs, I should mention that at the end of the article, you'll find information about Joka's training and consulting services in product management, as well as his digital books covering digital transformation, product management, and startup guidance, all designed to help teams implement better product vision and culture.
You've just listened to a new episode of Beyond the Article, expanded by AI.
To read the original article and explore more content from Joka Torres, visit gyaco.com. That's Gyaco. And at the end of the article, you'll find information about Joka's workshop services, mentoring, and digital books for those who want to implement product vision and culture in their company.
Thank you for joining us. See you in the next episode.